Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for Closing the Wealth Gap. The one show, maybe the only show that shows you how to close the wealth gap in your own life with the man who's done it for many, our wealth coach himself, Tyrone French. Hey, Tyrone.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Closing the Wealth Gap. I'm your host, Tyrone French. What I would like for you to do, I want you to keep in touch with me. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have this mobile app. It's absolutely free. All you have to do, download it on your phone, go to tyronefrench.coach. If you don't want to type that in on your device, just text it in to text Tyrone French at 36260. You're going to have access to my calculators, to my articles, to all my information. And if you got any questions, just give me a call. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want you to call 866-296 or 877-296-5192. That's 877-296-5192. Now that we got the business stuff out of the way, we're going to get started. So without further ado, I have a very special guest in the studio today. I've known this man since I was 19 years old. He was my mentor. We served together in the U.S. Navy on Guam. I want you to just sit back and relax and listen to this conversation. This is my good friend, Mr. Anthony Dunn, U.S. Navy, retired. How you doing, sir?
I am doing fine.
Man, thank you for taking the time to come in here and just to visit our studio today. What do you think?
Hey, I'm impressed. It really is nice. I enjoy looking at all the decor in here. It's just nice.
How was the ride down here?
Excellent.
Okay. No traffic?
Very little traffic at all.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, the reason we're bringing you in today is because I want my audience to hear just some of the stories about, right now the United States Navy or even all the services are having a hard time recruiting. And they never talk about veteran issues. When they talk about the military and bringing people in, they talk about housing, they talk about, the pay and the stuff like that, but they never talk about after the fact. And so I want to have a conversation. We're going to get to the point where we actually became veterans. But first and foremost, I want to talk about how we first met. And I was a young pup, again, 19 years old, got stationed on an island called Guam, in the northern Pacific. Didn't know where it was. I touched down, and my first day on Guam, it was a trip. And I ended up meeting another friend of ours, mutual friend, named David Bibbs. I was in the chow hall, which is, if you don't know what a chow hall is, a cafeteria. And I was in there, and I was sitting down by myself, and he came over, and we started having a conversation. Come to find out, he was from California, Harbor City, and man, he went to Norbine High School, and we just kicked it off right at the bat. And when I first got there, I was having problems with my roommate first day. And make a long story short, he said, "Man, I got space in my room. I got an extra rack. You can just move into my room." And man, I tell you, his rate was, he was an AT, avionics technician. And I went into the Navy non-designated, not knowing what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work on aircraft, but I didn't know exactly what field I was going to go into. And come to find out, he was an avionics technician, and the rest is history. So when did you join the Navy?
I joined the Navy December 7th, 1979.
December 7th, 1979.
Correct.
And did you know exactly what you were going to do when you joined the Navy?
I knew I was going to go into aviation.
Okay.
Yes.
So when did you get to Guam?
Got to Guam in March of 1980.
March of 1980.
Yes.
Okay, I got over there in 81. 1980. No, I got to Guam in 1982.
82.
1982.
That's right.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay. Now, when you first found out you were going to Guam, what was your reaction?
I was disappointed because I had orders earlier in the morning to go to an attack squadron off the USS Midway.
Okay.
That was in the morning. And, things change in the military just like that. So I come back from lunch and my orders are changed. It said, "You're still going to the Pacific, but you're not going to attack Squadron 56 off the Midway. You're going
Okay.
to VQ1. So I said,
VQ1.
yeah, and I said, VQ1? What's VQ1? It's a special squadron. Well, where are they located? In Guam. You are going to the Pacific. And I had some idea about where Guam was. I said,
Okay.
that rock?
Okay.
And they just started laughing at me. And after 16 days leave, I was on my way to Guam.
Okay. So I know I got there. You got there in 1980. I got there in 1982. And here's the thing. A lot of people don't know this about Tony Dunn, but Tony Dunn played football in the Navy. Matter of fact, he was a linebacker. And let me tell you.
Defensive end.
Okay, defensive end. Defensive end. But you rotated, though, man.
I did.
You rotated.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. This is one of the nicest guys that you're going to ever meet in your life. He has a smile that is constantly smile on his face. But he was the most fiercest defensive end on that rock. Now, how did that happen? How did you end up playing football on Guam?
Well, to be honest with you, 3 or 4 months after I arrived on Guam, one of the guys approached me and said, you know, we have a semi-professional football league on this island, and we have a base team. You might want to come out.
Okay.
So I decided, yeah, why not? You know, so I come out and make a long story short, won my starting position as a defensive end.
Okay.
For the District 2 Cardinals. That was the name of the team that we happened to play for.
Right.
At that particular base, and we played 5 other military teams and 1 civilian team, the University of Guam.
Okay.
And the thing about it with us, even though we played football, we still had a job to do in the Navy.
Right.
So we have like 10 games, and I played 2 seasons there, and I could never finish the season because couldn't play no more than 7 games.
Right.
Because I would have to go on debt,
Right.
detachment.
Right.
And
but you still gained quite a bit of a reputation for yourself, though, as a hard hitter.
Oh, I did. I sacked quite a few quarterbacks.
And the thing is, the reputation that this guy had, he would hit you so hard, would knock you silly, and he's still smiling at you. As a matter of fact, I remember one time we were playing the game. I was playing corner.
Right.
Left corner.
Right.
And this huge fullback. Remember that play?
Oh, my God.
Huge fullbacks came charging at me like he was a bull. And I'm running towards him, and he's running towards me, and we just had this collision. And all I heard was, ooh. And I hit him, he hit the ground, and I assumed that we were going to both get up at the same time, and he just laid there. And all of a sudden, I heard this reassuring voice in my head. What'd you say?
I said, good hit, killer. I helped you up.
Help me up.
I'll pat you on the butt, and let's go.
Let's go. And then that's when I realized that I got the wind knocked out of me. I wasn't breathing. I was standing on both 2 feet, but I was not breathing. I couldn't catch my breath. I ended up running to the sideline, hoping that the coach saw me so that he could replace me.
Oh, no.
And he never replaced me. And guess what? They ran a play on my side and scored. Never forget that.
But yeah, we played football. That was some of the entertainment that we had on Guam. Of course, we had other sports that we indulged in and such. Yeah. Because Guam, you could actually go around that island in an hour's time.
Yes.
And just about everybody knew everybody on Guam, so you couldn't get away with anything.
Right.
When you think you were getting away with something, somebody somewhere would see you.
Yeah. Well, some of the stories we're not going to get into because this is this show is PG.
Yes, it is.
But I can say this: a lot of times when people think about the military, they're not thinking about the recreation aspect of it, as far as the facilities and the things that the military provide just for morale boosters.
Correct.
And so some guys play football, some guys play basketball. There was just a lot of things on that island to do. I mean, you and I have a mutual friend who was actually a boxer.
Right.
So they would have boxing events, and to this day, we're still good friends.
Right.
Real good friends.
Right.
So I'm going to talk about how the first time I met you, because David Bibbs brought me over to you. And tell me about that day.
He sure did. I was sitting in my room, and someone knocked on the door. I said, come on in.
And again, all 3 of us are from L.A. So
that's right.
Okay.
So Bibbs comes in, rest in peace.
Yes.
Love that guy. He came in, and he said, Tony D, because That's what they called me. Tony D, I have somebody I want you to meet. He's from L.A. His name is Tyrone French. So I see this young man. He's wearing this golf cap. He had white shoes on, blue pants, white shirt. He was dapper, I would say. And he shook my hand. I shook his hand, and I said, "Well, welcome to Guam, and feel free to come back." And then he left. So let's say like 3 or 4 days later, I get a knock on the door. I say, "Who is it?" "It's French." I said, "Come on in." So French comes in and sit down. I said, "Have sit down." I offered him a soda, and he got to talking. And he said, first thing he asked me, he said, "Dunn, what's wrong with these guys, man?" And I said, "What's the problem?" "Well, man, they're messing with me and they're doing things that I don't like." And I listened to him.
I didn't say it exactly like that.
Yeah, but
it was colorful.
We're keeping it PG right now. Anyway, so to make a long story short, I let him talk and he finished. And I said, "French, I'm going to ask you something. Did they put your hands on you? Their hands on you?" And
no.
he said, "No." I said, "Did they talk about your mother?" And I said, "No." I said, "French, I had to go through the same thing when I came through Guam. It's because you're from California, specifically from LA, they want to try you.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. Just brush it aside."
Yeah.
Okay. And I actually patted him on his shoulder, and he shook his head. He said, "Okay, Dunn, all right," and he left.
Sent me on my way. But again, I needed that pep talk. I mean, I'm a 19-year-old kid just out of LA, and I was really focused on making a career out of the Navy,
Yes,
and
you
I wanted
were.
to be the best, the best sailor that I could be.
Yes, you were.
And again, David Bibbs, God rest his soul. Matter of fact, David Bibbs was enlisted when we first met, but ultimately, by the time he retired, he was a
Commander.
in the United States
right.
Navy. He went. The program was what, LDO?
Yes, he did.
Yes. So this guy, I mean, it was just what are the odds that I get to Guam and I'm around people that were just so driven, so disciplined and organized that to this day, we're still good friends. I can count the good friends that I have on one hand, and I could absolutely positively say you're one of those guys.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So again, looking at Guam and looking at the military, and I know that you ended up reluctantly getting out of the Navy.
Yeah, it was a sad story. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I could not re-enlist due to a medical situation that I had. And I really loved the Navy, but it was time for me to go, and that was back in '84.
Okay, but again, that's not the end of the story, though.
No, it is not.
So let's fast forward to actually where you became a reservist.
Okay, fast forward. It was 4 months before 9/11.
Okay.
I was allowed to enlist in the U.S. Navy Reserve.
Okay.
And I went on to do 16 more years. I
Yes.
retired in 2018 with a total of 21 years as active in reserve.
Wow.
And I retired in good standings. And the thing about it, when you retire as a reservist, they do not pay you right away. You have to wait until you turn 60
Okay.
before you can get a retirement check.
Okay.
But fortunately for me, when I retired, I was 57, so I only had to wait 3 years.
Right. Right. But again, that wasn't really a major thing for you because you had a pretty good career at FedEx, right?
Yes, I actually did just under 10 years at FedEx.
Now again, let's talk about your qualifications to get that job because you had to be licensed to get that job. So
Correct. My background is aviation maintenance.
Yes.
That's my life. That's what I've done since joining the Navy.
Let's go back to Guam because on Guam you were actually, what was your rate?
I was an AD3,
Which was?
aviation machinist mate, i.e. I was a jet engine and power plant systems mechanic.
There you go.
So I maintained our two types of aircraft that we worked on. EA-3 Skywars, a jet-powered aircraft, and EP-3 Orions. Actually, they were Ares aircraft. electronic surveillance aircraft, turboprop.
Okay. So let's do this. Then fast forward back to as far as, because you got qualified, you became your license as far as your
Okay,
for FedEx.
now, years later, after working through the industry in aircraft manufacturing, maintenance, upkeep, I found that I needed an A&P license.
Right.
Because you cannot perform work, maintenance work, and sign it off without having that certificate.
Right.
It's FAA certified. So I went to school at this institution called Northrop Rice Aviation. It was located in Inglewood, California.
Okay.
But now it's under a different name.
Okay.
I believe it's Spartan Aviation.
Okay.
Well, anyway, it took me 14 months. I got my A&P, and then I was able to move on to bigger and better things. I left Boeing and
Okay.
went to work for Raytheon Flight
Okay.
Test Center located in Van Nuys.
Okay.
And I worked on one of the two types of aircraft that we had in our squadron, the A3.
Yes.
And I did that for about 6, almost 7 months. And unfortunately, I was a low man on the totem pole, so I got laid off.
But you actually did a stint at McDonnell Douglas.
Oh, yeah, that's what prior to that.
Okay.
I worked 10 years for McDonnell Douglas / Boeing, because I
Yes.
was there during the time that Boeing took us over. And I was, my job title there was K2J, meaning I was a structures mechanic.
Okay.
I built the airplane.
Yeah.
The MD-80s and the C-17s.
Now the reason I bring that up is because just serendipity. We
Yes.
hadn't seen each other in I don't know how many years, and I want you to tell that story about how we ran into each other again.
Okay, it was one night I was doing a part of a tour at the Long Beach plant, because at the time I was at the Torrance plant.
Okay.
So they wanted us to come down to the the Long Beach plant, just to see where all those parts that we make fit and how they go.
Right.
Okay, and all of a sudden I see this gentleman in a tie talking to a group of mechanics, and it was French. And I looked, and I said, French. And he stopped talking and he looked at me, Dunn. And like we hugged and we shook hands, and everybody, both groups were like,
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
Not knowing we hadn't seen each other in years based on our Navy days.
That was, I want to say, at least 15 years.
Yes, yes. And
At
the reason I'm
least.
bringing this up is because when I left the Navy, I got out in 1988. And I ended up, there was a job fair
Right.
at McDonnell Douglas.
Right.
And when I was in Navy, I was an avionics technician. I worked with the tech reps from IBM.
Right.
And I worked in quality assurance. So when I got to McDonnell Douglas, I was prepped. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, had my resume polished. And I was standing in this long line, and somebody from QA was walking down the line, and he spotted me. And he was like, "Why are you here?" So I told him my background and gave him my resume. He pulled me out of the line and walked me right into the building. And he started talking to the union stewards. And they were going back and forth, and the language was pretty colorful. But they resolved the situation and came back to me and said, "Hey, look, we can't bring you in as a grade 1 based on your experience level. That's where you should be. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring you in at grade 3. We want to keep you on the floor for about 90 days. And then we want to transition you into a quality assurance administrator." So you didn't see me when I first started working there as far as electrician. You saw me when I had transitioned into a quality assurance administrator.
Right.
Yeah, so just wanted to tell that story as far as the background, because again, when you put yourself in a position in the military and you have the technical expertise, companies will line up to hire you if you have your ducks in a row. If you've done your due diligence and you position yourself to whereas you can take advantage of those opportunities, the military is, for me, was one of the best place to get that foundation under me. And so then it became up to me based on what do I want to do.
Well, you had that in you in the first place because you made history in BQ1. When you got there, you were non-rate,
Yes.
non-designated.
Non-designated.
And after you did your SMD, Special Military Duty,
On the USS Ranger.
that's right, you did not go to the line division.
No, I didn't.
You went straight to avionics.
Straight to the shop.
And that was a first. That was a first. And on top of that,
But I got a lot of crap for that too, man.
hey, they saw something in you. You were one of the few African Americans that we had that were non-rated, that went straight. In fact, you were the only one that went to that shop just like that, because the people above you saw something in you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But again, I had good mentors. I had good coaches. And again, rest in peace, David Bibbs. We got another good friend, Ronnie Madden,
Right.
who would literally just take me out to the plane and show me. I mean, to be an avionic technician, I would have never aspired to do that. But Ronnie took me out to the plane. He said, "Come on, let's go out to the plane." He said, "Here, take this straight slot screwdriver. Take this panel off. Take these safety wires and cut the wires off the box and pull that box out and put this box in there." He said, "Now come up to the cockpit." He said, "I want you to go to that box, dial this frequency in, and this is what I want you to say." And so I did a radio check with the tower. And so the tower came back that, the radio check was confirmed. And he looked at me. He said, "How does it feel to be an avionic technician?" And the rest was history.
Wow.
The rest was history.
Now that I did not know.
Yes. Yeah, we det QB in the Philippines at the time.
Okay.
And
okay.
man, we worked hard, but we played hard too.
Oh, yes, we did. Yes, we did. Because the alternative was this. If you didn't make it back to work on time, you'd get your Liberty card pulled.
Yes. And you did not want your Liberty card to be pulled. So let's do this, because we're going to wrap this up in a few minutes.
Yes.
But let's talk about, because I know to me, you're Tony Dunn, United States Navy, retired. And I remember prior to you retiring, we used to have conversations. And I used to tell you, Tony Dunn, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Just keep going through your progressions. Because I could look at your data. I could look at your financials. We would have a conversation, but I knew what your financials were. I knew, even just based on your income. Like, a lot of people only have one income stream. And as far as, you have how many income streams?
4.
About 4 income streams.
Yes.
So when we talk about this show and even closing the wealth gap, we're telling people about multiple streams of income and passive income. And so we're so programmed to trade time for money, meaning that we're gonna trade our labor. Because when you're working on the job, they pay you so much money per hour, but that's per hour of labor. They're not paying you for your time. They'll say so much money, you're going to make so much money per hour, but they're not paying you for your time. They're paying you for your labor. And we're conditioned to trade our labor for income. But then there comes a time when we put ourselves in a position where we have multiple streams of passive income, which I call wealth. And those income streams, the sources of those income streams, are now assets. And so I call those income producing assets. And a lot of people aspire to be rich. And I say, no. What you want to be is wealthy. And my definition of wealth is you're wealthy when the income from your assets exceeds the outgo from your liabilities and expenses. And in the United States, there are two sources of just financial literacy or financial intelligence that you have to have. And one is wealth and the other is credit. And when you get your wealth and your credit together in the United States, there's really nothing that you can't do. And the bottom line is lifestyle. So you put yourself in a position to where you can have a comfortable retirement. And because of that, you end up doing something that a lot of people at our age really don't do. You end up going back to school.
That's correct.
So tell us about that.
Well, based on what you told me as far as what benefits that were allotted by the VA, I should look into the VRNE program, which is what I did. And after filling out the paperwork and waiting the prescribed time, I was accepted. So now I'm in my first semester at Los Angeles Southwest City College.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Outstanding. Now, who's paying for that? Is that you or the military is paying for it?
That is the VA.
The VA is
the
paying for it.
Veterans Administration.
Outstanding. And they also helps you with a computer?
Yes. They give you up to $2,500 to buy your computer, printer, all the associated hardware that you need, books, textbooks, papers, and whatsoever.
So again, and the thing is, there was a time when I didn't know about the VRNE program, which is Veterans Readiness and Employment Program.
Right.
And so if you're entitled, see, and one of the reasons why I knew that you were entitled is because you're a disabled veteran.
Yes, I am.
So based on you having a disability from the military and looking at that program, you were automatically qualified for it. You just didn't apply. You just didn't know about it. And so one of the things that we want to do is shed light on. There's so many veterans out there that are either lowballed based on their disability ratings, or their programs out there they just don't know about. And so you capitalized on the VRNE program, whereas again, and I know you're just starting, you just started the program. But I'm well into the program, and I can tell you this, not only do they pay for as far as the courses, but you also receive a monthly stipend, just based on whether you're a single veteran, or whether you're a veteran with dependents, and whether you have a portion of your GI Bill that you still your post 9/11 GI Bill. They'll pay you up to $3,500 per month, just as a monthly stipend, to be a part of that program so that you can go to school, which again, a lot of veterans are not aware of. So just based on that experience, and again, it's not a perfect system because you got a lot of bureaucracy, but
Tell me about it.
But based on where you are right now, they position you to where you're going to get this degree.
Yes.
And not only are you going to get the degree, but they're paying you to get this degree. So what are your future goals, or what are your future plans now that you're retired?
Well, I want to continue my schooling. Eventually, I want to get a degree in computers.
Okay.
I would like to go into computer graphics. I used to draw when I was a child. Well, you no longer can draw with your hands anymore. You use the computer.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to do. And in a sense, I need to improve my computer skills anyway.
Right.
So that's why I'm in school now. But of course, I have to take my prerequisites as such.
Right.
English 101 and so forth and so forth.
Right.
And I find that a lot of the youngsters, they want to help me out, help the old guy out.
That's all right.
But there's another thing. I wear this hat. This hat that I have on is U.S. Navy retired, proudly served.
Yes.
It's my uniform.
Yes.
I was looking forward to wearing this hat one day.
Yes.
And I wear it proudly.
Yes.
And it has its perks. I don't wear it for the perks, but the perks do come.
Right.
But one of the things that's rewarding to me is when a youngster will come up to me and ask me about the military. Mm-hmm. And I would tell them exactly. I'll tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
And what to expect if you choose that type of life.
Yes. Now, really, really quick, we're going to wrap this up. We got about 5 more minutes.
Yes.
Matter of fact, less than that. But I want you to touch on as far as the camaraderie and the brotherhood of the military, as far as having, like the reunions.
Oh, yes. Through the gift of social media about 8 years ago, we got together, and we do this once a year, the guys that I served with when we were in our 20s, and we pick a place that we're from throughout the United States, and we come together and worship. Well, not worship,
and
brothership, fellowship.
Yes.
And we have a good time, and it went from being 3 days to 4 days.
Yes.
And we eat, we drink, we laugh, we cry, we talk about things that are relative to what we are doing now. And a lot of us, when we first started this, were not service connected.
Right. Exactly.
But now, about 90% of us are service connected.
Yes.
Word of mouth, exchanging knowledge.
And what that means as far as being service connected, it's like now we're entitled to certain benefits and compensation from the VA, which we didn't have.
Correct.
And prior to that union of us coming back together, it was only a couple people within the group that had the knowledge as far as being service connection that was
Right.
able to share that information with everybody else, to whereas like you said, 90% of the people in the group are now benefiting from those external benefits and the compensation.
Exactly. And it's not easy though. The VA will make you work for it.
Oh yeah, it's a job.
But you don't give up. You don't give up. And it's like this. If you have something and you'll benefit from it, why not share this with your fellow veteran?
Yes,
Bring him in or her into the fold.
I agree.
Plain and simple.
I agree. I tell you what, we're running out of time right now, Dunn. It's impossible to go through the history and explain all the benefits within the 30 minutes time. What I want to do is I'm going to bring you back, if that's okay.
That's fine.
And we're going to do another 30-minute segment, and we're going to really get into not only just the nuts and the bolts, but also the fun side of the military. Because again, me joining the military and joining the Navy back in 1981 was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
Oh, yes.
And it gave me the foundation of who I am today, and the quality of people that I ran into that I'm still friends with to this day. And I would love for other people to have that experience, to where you have lifelong friends that have those experience with you that you can understand.
Right.
So that being said, my brother, thank you for coming in. It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. And you know what? This is season 6 of Closing the Wealth Gap. I enjoy doing this. In this particular season, we're going to bring in a lot of experts. Some of them are going to be from the financial services field, but a lot of them are going to be just from the military and the veteran side, so that we can give a full picture as far as what military life is, and like you were said, the good and the bad and the ugly. So again, this is Tyrone French, and I'm always looking forward and helping people to closing the wealth gap.
That's our show for this week. Closing the Wealth Gap. The one show, the only show that shows you how to take control of your financial future. Right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio.net.